We conducted an investigation into the role of the Australian media in promoting Islamophobia. And we found out that there were over 3,000 articles in a single year that portrayed Muslims and Islam in a negative light.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this is that this investigation took place in 2016. What happened 3 years later? The Christchurch massacre.
Yeah.
50 Muslims killed inside a mosque. And our study actually went viral after the Christchurch massacre because people began to realize that, hey, there are real world implications for language from the media. So what would be your take on that?
Yeah, and that's in my work, and sort of like, my legal framing of Islamophobia. And the two aren't distinct, right? So I'm a professor of law, but Islamophobia is convergent with the law, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about many of the policies that are in place in countries like the United States, across Europe, here in Australia, that are based on this idea that Muslims are, prone or have some sort of propensity for terrorism.
Yeah.
Much of the law is Islamophobic in nature, especially during this war on terror. What you're talking about is very important. It's what I call dialectical Islamophobia. So when you have politicians, news pundits, newspapers engage in these histrionics about who Muslims are, primarily in your research found this out, only framed and only talked about within the frame of terrorism, it basically gives license, right? It gives sort of authorization to citizens on the ground that we need you to keep a watchful eye on these Muslims. We need you during times of crisis to kind of, serve as vigilantes, if you will, like enlisted individuals acting on behalf of the state to protect our national security. So the media becomes complicit, using your language, arguably in a legal way, when there's a direct correlation between what it is that they're covering and reporting and the kind of causal effect it has on giving rise to hate crimes and hate incidents. And we can map that, you've raised the Christchurch incident. During times of Trump, there were many studies in the United States when he was talking about, initially introducing the Muslim ban, or then later talked about Islam hates us. When he was saying these explicitly Islamophobic things, hate crimes and hate incidents skyrocketed in the United States. So that's when media becomes a catalyst or a conduit in encouraging and emboldening hate crimes against Muslims.
Okay. No, that's something very important to take into consideration.